Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months.
Yo to Bolt fam. It's the director. Man. How does this keep happening, dude? How does this keep happening? What's crazy is that I know a lot of us went into this game like, pretty much expecting the worst, right? Let's all be grounded. Understand the reality of the situation. It's the Baltimore Ravens, top team in the AFC. Lamar Jackson, MVP caliber quarterback. Defense that's been shutting everything down all year. All of that said, with expectations set, and yet the Chargers found a way to get my hopes all the way up here before shoving me off that cliff. I'm going crazy. Oh, man. People, Chargers fans, Bill fam in the comment section. How do we do it? How do we do it? How do we come back every week? Open ourselves up for that kind of a emotional response and even when we're expecting the worst, experience worse than what we would have imagined. Man, I'm just stumbling over my words. I don't even know what to say. It's tragic. It's so tragic. But we're going to talk about it, man, because I think we're officially at that point where expectations set forth for the rest of the year need to be shifted, and it's okay. It's okay to think that. It's okay to think that, maybe this team's not making the postseason. Maybe this team needs a shift in focus. Maybe this team needs a lot more than what the 2023 season can offer. But let's watch anyway. Let's be Chargers fans anyway, because in the end of the day, there's going to be some fans that exit the season. They're done. But for me, I'm not going anywhere. I know a lot of you guys aren't going anywhere. And a shift in perspective can kind of save the season in terms of our entertainment and respect for ourselves for the rest of the year. So let's talk about this game and what we can do as fans to better the future for ourselves and hopefully the team. Before we do kick off, guys, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Got a couple of hits yesterday, actually. Not too bad. Definitely makes the games a little bit more watchable, even though the games that are not the Chargers. If you guys want to get in on the action, use code DIRECTOR to match your first deposit up to $100. And newcomers, take advantage of this new customer special, half yard for Justin Fields tonight on Monday Night Football. Before we do kick off, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. Small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification. Helps me out a lot. Let's get into it, man. Lights, camera, action. Your Chargers versus Ravens post-game report. I like to come up with cheeky names for these videos. I think we're going to title this one Death Loop. Because, I think you guys know where I'm going with that. It feels like we're trapped in Groundhog Day, man. Waking up, same thing, week after week after week. This is lost 3 in a row, right? Lost 3 in a row. And lost I don't know how many in a row when it comes to the one game, or should I say one score differences. It's pretty tragic out here, man. I feel like a lot of us got kicked out the back of the cart. Foot got caught in the rope. Horse keeps going. We're getting dragged across the city, screaming. Nobody can hear us. And it's just this painful experience that will not stop. I'm hoping that something does happen. But for right now, we got to take a look at this game and realize we knew it was going to happen, right? And how can you be disappointed if you're not? This first segment was called The Inevitable, okay? We kind of knew this was going to be the case here. The Ravens, a very good team. The Chargers really trying to find their footing since hiring Brandon Staley. The reason I wanted to put this segment in there is because I feel like the Chargers had to have known the situation. And I think despite that, and I'm going to give them their flowers. I was going to get that in a second. Early in the video, I think despite the result, it was less tragic than I had anticipated. I don't know if you guys remember in my post or my pregame video, I predicted a score of 42 to like 20 something, 42 to like something tragic, right? And Brandon Staley almost said it best in his post conference. Hey, we lost, but at least we didn't get blown out at the stadium. I don't like that. But you know what? In this game in particular, according to my own expectations, I got to tell you guys that it could have been a lot worse, I guess. It was going to happen anyway. Maybe this way was better. I don't know how you guys feel. Tell me how you guys feel in the comment section. Would you guys rather get blown out like quarter 2? It feels like it's done and it never lets up. Or would you guys rather continue having these close games over and over? Now, the correct answer, in my opinion, is you want the close games. Because it tells you something is almost there, right? You got something to work on, something to build on. And it's not a complete loss all over the roster. But my heart also says, man, in this game in particular, being built up in the till of like the fourth quarter, like, man, we got a shot at this. After the Gerald Everett touchdown, I was like, we could actually go out there and do this. I let myself believe that, and it made the hurt that much worse. You guys let me know in the comment section below what you prefer. I think still, I'm willing to take the pain as long as the Chargers aren't completely in the gutter, which right now it feels that way. I get it, but the close games indicate that there's something there. Maybe a change of coaching will push us over the edge. I don't know. One big thing I think was important in this game that I mention a lot in my live streams. I don't know how much it gets mentioned in the world of football, but momentum is precious. It really is. When you talk about the currency of success in the football game, I think momentum is king. Not much more controls a game than momentum. And I feel like the Chargers got out the gate hot. They really did. Their first offensive possession was very successful, in my opinion, up until a certain point where the refs called a bogus, unsportsmanlike or roughing the passer against the Chargers. Whatever the case may be, it should have been a roughing the passer against the Ravens. And the Chargers players who come to the aid of a Justin Herbert who got hit out of bounds get called for unsportsmanlike conduct. And that was just bogus. It killed the momentum. Chargers got some momentum to start the game, and it killed it. We ended up getting the 3, which is fine. But momentum is king. And then outside of that, it was just kind of the Chargers' own fault in losing momentum. Lots of turnovers. Chargers would build, especially on offense this week. Just build with the momentum. And then just as we're about to round the corner to, hey, man, we might be in control of this. We might be in control of our own fate. Momentum gets yanked out of underneath us, pulled the rug from underneath us at the last moment again. And that's why I feel like this team, it shows signs of success. It shows signs of momentum, but they can't close it. They can't close out a game. They can't close out a close game. They can't close out a close drive with momentum. There's just the closing mentality of this team doesn't exist. I don't know why. A big thing, though, that I can say the Chargers have been doing right the last couple of weeks. Bravo to Kellen Moore, and in particular Justin Herbert, for adding this to the arsenal of Justin Herbert's talent that's utilized on the field. He's been going bananas. Is this the second week in a row he leads the team in rushing? This is a great aspect of his game. Now, a lot of people will disagree and say, man, I don't like that. I don't want him to get hurt. I get that. Totally get that. But the way Justin's been doing it, taking minimum contact and going out of bounds, and he's been getting better at the slide, I feel confident in his ability to use his better judgment in when to pull that out, right? And when to utilize his feet. He's been doing great, man. He busted out, like a 35-yard run yesterday. That was impressive. And it adds an element and a flavor to Justin Herbert's game that's very reminiscent of like a Josh Allen, right? We called him the Cam Newton of the Chargers, I think, last week. He just has that edge about him. And as long as he continues to do that, which, again, some people will agree, some people will disagree, I think Justin Herbert is going to start being viewed as a quarterback that could be a dual threat. And defenses are going to have to adjust accordingly, which means that, funny enough, you take a look at teams like the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson or the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. You treat those quarterbacks different because there's always a chance they can take off, and you can't call the same defenses. And funny enough, it kind of makes it a little easier to pass and run because you can't account for everything. You kind of have to pick and choose. And Justin Herbert kind of adding this to his arsenal and adding this to his reputation, I think in the long run will help the Chargers on offense. And hopefully we can continue to see Justin Herbert succeed at that because he's been doing very well. Good on Justin Herbert. Good on Kellen Moore for saying, hey, man, I know it's risky, but Justin Herbert's one of those guys that knows what he's doing, so we're going to trust that he can run the offense with his feet if necessary. Now, a big part of this week that really sucks because it feels like we let Herbert down again. This segment called Fumbled Away. Now, I don't know what happened. The Chargers were a very good team to start the season when it comes to turnovers. I think we're +6 at some point. Maybe +9. I don't remember. It was something ridiculous. I think it was +6. That's crazy. That's crazy. It felt like the Chargers were the masterminds of the fumble. They were able to go out there and cause a fumble or two almost every week. While at the same time, ball security was a very huge strength of the team. Justin Herbert, I think, is still a big strength to him. He did throw an interception, which will go against his stats, but it was in a Hail Mary situation. Not really a big deal there, but he's been great in ball security this year. What was that like? I think it was the 5th interception, something like that. At this point of the season, that's pretty dang good. I have to get the stat in front of me. I just know it's impressive. The amount of little interceptions that he's thrown to touchdowns. It's crazy. It's crazy. This week it wasn't about the interception, though. It was about the fumbles. I think we had 3 of them, right? And like I said at the top of the show, it came at a moment where momentum had been built. We were looking to score, actually. I think, 2 of them at least were in the red zone? Oh. And then fate is fumbled away here. This was a little bit more of a bang-bang play, one that you can't really blame on Keenan Allen. You're taught to catch the ball since you're a little kid. Keenan went and caught the ball, and he gets walloped. Fumble. Ravens get momentum back. Chargers feels like we hit the reset button again. Justin Herbert got strip sack fumbled. That may have been a red zone fumble. I don't remember. And I'm pretty sure that one was on Trey Pipkins. That and the final play of the game, Justin Herbert had a chance to score and win it for the Chargers. Offensive line kind of let us down. And then Austin Ekeler with a critical fumble in this game too. The odds were already against us, and I was, again, proud that the team put up a better fight than we thought. But in the end, we kind of things like the officiating with some of the bogus calls that we saw, whatever with those. But us shooting ourselves in the foot, adding to the already difficult task, you have to play a near perfect game to beat a team like the Ravens. You got close, but these little mistakes, that's what's going to cost it in the end, man. And sometimes it really does have to do with the talent on this team. Like what's going on with a couple of these players, man. First off, Quinton Johnston. This segment called QJ is officially a bust so far. And I said this in my last video. I'm going to say it again because Quinton Johnston was thrust into a role where he's now, wide receiver 2 for this team? Or at least he was. And he's clearly not ready. Which sucks because we got a front row seat at another round 1 wide receiver that was ready in Zay Flowers. Quinton Johnston is not ready. As of today, Quinton Johnston is a regret in the draft. I wasn't planning on showing this in the video today. I'm going to pull an audible here. I posted this yesterday on Twitter. Some people may think it's inappropriate. I think it's completely fine because it's been a big subject of conversation with Quinton Johnston lately. If the Chargers had drafted based on consensus fan favorites during their picks in the last 3 seasons, we would have ended up with Rashawn Slater in 2021. And again, this is that year it was Penei Sewell that everybody wanted, but he was off the board. I'm talking about who was available at the Chargers pick in each year. Rashawn Slater, I think everybody wanted him. He was still on the board. We couldn't believe it. 2022 would have been Trent McDuffie. I think a lot of players. I think Micah Parsons was one that a lot of us wanted, but he got picked right before us. We get Trent McDuffie. And then this year was Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers. The fans wanted Zay Flowers. Again, I haven't completely given up hope on Quinton Johnston. He's young. Mike Williams had a really crappy rookie season, and he turned into one of the better Chargers wide receivers ever. But for the rookie season of Quinton Johnston, I think it's curtains at this point. And we saw it on the sideline yesterday. Quinton Johnston got banged up on a play and pulled out of the game. And then he was walking around the sideline. I was like, why isn't QJ back in? He's obviously fine. He just got the air knocked out of him or something. He's obviously good on the sideline. After the game, come to find out, it was a coaching decision to keep Quinton Johnston out of the game for the rest of this week. That doesn't fare well for the Chargers front office, for Tom Telesco in particular, and for Quinton Johnston. And again, I hope he figures it out. And I believe he will. Will he be that, like, number one bona fide wide receiver that a lot of us were hoping for in the future? Unlikely, but he could be a solid 2 for a while, you know? But it puts other players in perspective or in play for the Chargers in the draft. Depending on how the season ends, like if we're in play for Marvin Harrison Jr., like, please. Brock Bowers is a big one in terms of another weapon. Chargers are going to need something, which sucks because we invested a lot in these options, these receiver options for Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Josh Palmer, Quinton Johnston, even Austin Ekeler, Donald Parham, Gerald Everett. Like, these are all investments, big ones. And I would argue that everybody outside of Keenan Allen has question marks, and some of them bigger than others. It's going to be crazy. And I'll show one more thing on an Audible because I think it's relevant to the situation here. I also posted yesterday that we're really going to have to kill it in the next draft. We are. Maybe in the next... It might take 2 or 3 years to get this roster back on track. We need corner. We need tight end. We need safety. We need receiver. Again, we need running back, in my opinion. We need offensive line. And that comes like in terms of guard and right tackle. Center, maybe. Or center for sure. Guard, maybe. Right tackle for sure. We need a tight end. Bad. But just a lot that we need. Little to no money to help in free agency is going to be tough. We need year one impact rookies and a whole lot of luck in 2024. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. I think we also have to have the Austin Ekeler talk as a fan base too. And this is where this is where the front office did a good job. Austin Ekeler wanted a big extension, a lot of money, and if it were up to me, I probably would have done it. Austin Ekeler scored more touchdowns than almost any player outside of quarterback in the last few seasons. He's been crazy. This year, though, it all fell off. Is it because we're missing Corey Linsley? I think that's a part of it. But you can kind of see the decline with Austin Ekeler lately. And I think the position of running back, and the reason why I included it as a need for the Chargers in the draft, is because we just don't have a run game right now. Austin Ekeler, at this moment in time, if I were to keep him on the roster the next 3 seasons, I would keep him as a complimentary back, somebody that goes out there in the receiving game and does very well at it. But I hate saying it because I love him, but I don't think he's our number one back anymore. I think we got to start thinking about who's going to step into that role next season. And luckily, running back seems to be very available in free agency. Some very talented ones, too, in free agency. So I think we can maybe grab a guy in free agency if it comes to it. But I think in terms of the draft, you could find a guy in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round that more carries the archetype of what you need from a running back one. Austin Ekeler's done a great job the last 2 seasons, but when it comes to running the football, my confidence is very low right now. And so the conversation's officially open for me. Austin Ekeler, whether he stays with the team or not, the Chargers need a bona fide RB1 in the future, very soon. Now again, the offensive line probably has something to do with that with Austin Ekeler. And I think the offensive line is in a position where we need to talk about it a little bit too. I'm a little bit curious to see if the Chargers decide to switch Zion Johnson and Sawyer back to where they were last season. I know Sawyer was at tackle, but he's a guard. But those guys played a different position in college, so they let them swap this season. I feel like they played better on the other sides. Right tackle has been a complete mess. I think somebody told me that is it Mayweather, the trainer for Rashawn Slater and company, was disappointed in seeing their decline. In the end, I think a lot of it stems from the Chargers' center absence in Corey Linsley. I think he really was the glue that kept everything together. So maybe center is very high on our list for next season. Very high, depending on Corey Linsley's status. I hope he comes back. I really do. But I care more about his life because it's a heart condition, you know? That's something that you can't rehab. That's something that is or isn't. And if it isn't, I completely understand. I wish him the best, but we got to get a center in here soon. Because right now, we're letting down Justin Herbert. He had one more shot at the end of the game, and it ended the same way his last shot in the last 3 or 4 efforts has. Offensive line lets him down. He gets sacked. Game over. We got to figure that out. Now, one big thing I'll say before we close this video, I'm not gonna be like, this game was a complete wash. It wasn't. It was an admirable, I'll say, defensive effort, which it always feels like we're flip-flopping. If the defense does well, the offense stinks. If the offense does well, the defense stinks. This week, the defense actually did pretty well. This is the first week in 5 weeks, 6 weeks, that the Ravens haven't scored 31-plus points. It was the Chargers that stopped them. And that is the biggest surprise to me at this whole game, is that the Chargers limited them to under 30 points. Good job for the defense. Defensive line did particularly well. DBs did okay. Pass rush was extremely nice. On the back of Tuipulotu, Morgan Fox got in there a couple of times. But I think the biggest guy that had a great game was Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack was absolutely insane. Mack is back. I think a lot of us are feeling. I think, what is that, 13 sacks on the season? I think he needs a couple more to match his career high, y'all. This is the best version of Khalil Mack that's ever existed could come in 2023 on a twilight season K-Mac. Isn't that crazy? So bravo to the defense on that effort. Bravo to Khalil Mack. You guys had a great game. But the final thing I want to say before closing this video out, which is a big indicative point for the rest of the season, the rest of the year, and going forward, why I said at the top of the show that it's okay for us to shift our mentality on what the 2023 season is to protect ourselves as fans, but also give ourselves something to enjoy for the rest of the year. Because let's be honest, this team, the chances of making the postseason are so astronomically low now at 4-7. I think the new expectation is to go in and watch these games and hope to see improvement by the players individually, which we're seeing in some players like Khalil Mack. We're seeing in some players like even Keenan Allen, who is surpassing expectations this season. We can hope to see some improvement from Quinton Johnston, from some of the DBs that are going to be here for a while. Start talking about how we're going to construct the roster going forward. We got to change our mentality here a bit too, man. That's why I'm showing this last image. This segment called Flowers on Our Grave. This image to me represents mismanagement of the Chargers. And why I went back and kind of showed you guys this tweet. I'm not saying that Chargers Twitter is always right. I'm not saying the fans are always right. But I will say this, fan opinion a lot of the time stems from professional opinion. Certainly mine. I gain my opinion that I come out and I share with you guys based on observations that are gathered from professionals. I'll go and read and read and read and read. Some of my favorite, beat writers, some of my favorite NFL analysts, and come to my own conclusion. But in the end, I'm using a lot of their research to help stem my own. Sure, I'll go watch some film and highlights and look at stats and all that kind of stuff. But in the end, consensus opinion kind of does mean something. And in this instance, it means Chargers decided to draft for need than best player available. And now we're paying for it. Rashawn Slater, best player available. We hit that. Great pick. 2022, Trent McDuffie, best player available. We skipped it. We drafted for need. We took Zion Johnson, which, mind you, that's fine. Offensive line doesn't bother me too much. But where would we be right now if we had Trent McDuffie? Probably a lot better on defense. And then 2023... Zay Flowers is staring us in the face. I think truthfully, even during the draft I said this, I think truthfully, my personal opinion is we should have drafted Dalton Kincaid. That was my opinion during the draft, but consensus was Zay Flowers. I think Jordan Addison was the most talented wide receiver still left on the board. But consensus, if we went consensus, Zay Flowers would have been a great pick there too. We need to change our mentality, man. We need to maybe even change our GM. I know we got to change our coach. We all know that. Maybe we need to change our GM. Maybe, because Tom Telesco will tell you that we did draft best player available. I don't think we do that as often as we should. I think this team would be in a much better position if we did draft best player available 9 out of 10 times. I think we do it like 6 out of 10 times, to be honest. This image is representative of a shift in focus, a shift in mentality, and a shift in identity. Not just by a team, but in the terms of who we are as a front office. I think it's time to let go of Brandon Staley. We've said this for weeks now. I think it may be time to let go of Tom Telesco. I like him. I do. I think it could have been worse. I know a lot worse GMs in the league. But I think that the lack of committing to best player and the talent is something that I can't overlook anymore. And seeing our decisions drive a dagger through our heart, I think, is the best way to get that point across. But that being said, guys, sorry if it's a bit of a downer week today. I'm fatigued from the losses, but it's okay. We'll be back next week. I can't be mad today, bolt up tomorrow. I'm upset, but I'm not going anywhere. We just got to find a way to enjoy the rest of the season as a fan community. It's been one of the tougher seasons that I've experienced in a long time as a Chargers fan. I started watching in around 05, 06. Since then, there's maybe one season that stands out as much as this one. And it sucks. It sucks. But guys, in the comment section below, let me know what your thoughts are. And what your new record prediction for the Chargers is. I'm honestly at the point where I'm thinking 6-11. Which should net the Chargers a top 15 pick, maybe top 10. Maybe we start talking draft a little bit sooner than we had anticipated on the channel. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. We'll catch you next time. As always, bolt up, stay frosty. Keep your heads up, Bolt fam. It's time to rebuild. We needed this in order to cleanse. We did.